time I stood on stage in front of people. My legs were shaking and my palms were sweaty. I was 7 years old, playing a violin piece. Many of you can imagine what I would have been feeling as I was so young. I have stepped on stage occasionally since then, but nothing like my experience a few months ago. I was performing on stage in front of at least 160 people. It was scary. I was so nervous. However, right before I went on stage, I had a sudden burst of energy. The adrenaline was crazy, and I loved it. And here I am now, taking another leap of faith. Standing up here today, I am feeling overwhelmed and anxious, heart racing, legs shaking, and well, just all these nerves are so chaotic. Some of you may have experienced some of these symptoms at some point in your life. For me, these symptoms are a daily occurrence. You see, I suffer from the condition anxiety. I am constantly feeling excited and always nervous. Understanding anxiety raises several questions, and it can affect people in a number of different ways. Today, I am sharing my personal journey of living with anxiety with you and hope to answer some of the questions that this condition raises. Anxiety is a mental health disorder that can affect the way a person can think and behave daily. Anxiety can affect you physically in many ways. For example, dizziness, pins and needles regularly, feeling restless or unable to sit still, massive headaches, and other body aches. For me, I only feel some of these symptoms some of the time. For example, at night, when I am really tired, when I lie in bed, I feel stressed and restless, and I can't lie still. This causes me to feel hot and muggy and overwhelmed, which some of the time even leads me to having to cry myself to sleep. I know that these feelings can and do happen to many other people too, so I am not alone. I often get pins and needles when I am just sitting still. My foot or my hand starts to tingle, and it makes me very uncomfortable. I have realized in the time that I have had anxiety that people get judged for the way that they act differently, and that is not fair. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago when I was sitting in class and there was a girl being very loud. She was annoying us all, and this made me mad. I just had to say something. My anxiety levels had risen, and I had such a big headache. I couldn't think rationally, and I took it too far by talking over the top of the teacher and telling the student to be quiet. I was the one who got in trouble with the teacher as she thought I was trying to be rude to her. Honestly, it was all just too much for me to deal with. The teacher didn't understand this. Being in trouble was just another trigger to push my anxiety even further. One question often asked is, what can cause such high levels of anxiety for today's young people? There are many reasons that teenagers are affected daily, such as high expectations, hormones, brain development, parental disapproval, peer pressure, drinking and drug use, depression, and definitely social media. Another question often asked is whether anxiety is an ongoing struggle or is it something that happens occasionally. For most people, anxiety affects them during high stress times. For example, when assignments are due or when they're having issues with friends. Some people in this group learn how to look for the signs of the environments so they can manage their reactions to situations they know they're going to have to experience. Anxiety or not, completing assignments and exams is a part of a teenager's life and has to be managed. But for me and others like me, anxiety is ongoing. I have struggled with severe anxiety my entire life. Simply walking down a busy street where all the noises and my phobias become connected can be the stressor that triggers an anxiety attack. My anxiety may show through anger, stress, nerves, getting overwhelmed and mad easily. For others, it may be quiet withdrawal. We are all different. Another stressor is that I have claustrophobia. So when I get claustrophobic, I start to hyperventilate and sometimes cry because it makes me feel totally overwhelmed and makes me feel trapped. This is also the reason that I can't clean under my bed. Sorry, Mum. I've also suffered from depression throughout my life, and this adds to my response to situations, stressing more than somebody else might. This is my journey so far, and I really want to help others cope with these disorders and for them to know that they aren't alone. When I was 9 years old, I started to see a therapist. Having a therapist helped me to control it and to not lash out at everybody who may tell me off for the slightest of things. I still struggle with this to this day, as I did in class a couple of weeks ago. I have made a list of some tools and other little things that helped me to cope. Speaking with a psychologist, undertaking therapy, talking to our school counsellor, fidgeting with tactile objects, and having some alone time. Anxiety is something that we all have, and it is okay to feel anxious about situations. But for those like me, every day, when you start to feel anxious, you can learn to control it with a bit of help. It is okay to get help. In fact, it is essential. Please remember, you are not alone. I hope that I've left you all with something to think about in relation to anxiety disorder.